Good evening and welcome to episode 49. We're back. Welcome to the Mark You and Wawi show. Good evening to you, Wawi.
Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Pretty good. Sorry to those who have been following us until this time. We have at least taken a 1 month hiatus, and
hmm
each of us have something to share from our, from my short trip in out of the country at least to Mexico, and Wawi here has something to share to our listeners as he went for a Euro trip, right, Wawi?
Yeah, yeah. I went to Italy for
Nice.
about a week.
Very nice. We're gonna ask some few questions, some tips, and some guide, as maybe some of our listeners will be interested in taking a Europe trip and use their stronger US dollar against the
Yes.
euro, their currency over there. I hope everybody's doing fine. Just a disclosure before we proceed. This show is made for sharing information purposes only and not to be considered investment advice. Me and Wawi try to record at least once a week. We're both physical therapists here in the USA with the same passion and interest in researching and investing our hard earned money in the US stock market. And so we proceed on this episode. So I guess Wawi would like to share some of this photos taken while he was in Italy. So would you say,
Yeah.
Wawi, like, is it a good advice to just book straight like a one-way flight to Europe or to Italy at this time, or did you use a agency?
Now we don't normally use an agency,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be good to maybe book a one-way ticket if you're planning on traveling to the other places in Europe. You can use Italy like a jump station to other countries in Europe. So it's so close to
Mm-hmm.
like different countries as we found out when we were there. You can go to Slovenia, you can go to Germany, you can go to Switzerland, you can go to the United Kingdom.
Like it's drivable close, or is it like you have to ride a train?
You can use the train, you can also fly, but flying would be the most uh, quicker, I mean, probably the quicker way to get to the place. But if
Right.
you have the time, you can use the train.
Right.
In my case, we drove,
Mm-hmm.
and and this is something I would tell the people: don't look at like YouTube for like driving experiences
Oh, really?
because they will
Why?
tell you that driving in Italy is probably a difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But in my experience, as long as you don't go through the forbidden areas or what they call the ZTL or basically the historic cities, there's places where you can drive
Oh, really?
if you're not a local
Mm-hmm.
or you don't have a special permit.
Also, do you need permits in those areas?
But anyway, I broke the rule and we drove. Well, I have another friend that drove with me. We drove through the ZTL
Uh-huh.
in Naples.
Mm-hmm.
And at first we were kind of nervous because okay, we broke the rule and we're gonna get fined. But driving through the narrow streets of that place and having to back up one time because there was a blockage on the road
Mm-hmm.
because it was just a shopping area. It was like an adventure.
So is it like
Uh,
driving on the left side of the road instead of the right side? Is that why it's mostly difficult?
no, they drive on the right side like we do here in the States.
Oh, okay.
If you're in Germany, then you'll be driving on the left hand side, or if you're
Mm,
in the United Kingdom, you'll
I
be
see.
driving on the opposite side.
So what is this that what we have on our slide to share our viewers? Is this one part of Italy?
Yeah, so this is Venice.
Oh, okay.
So Venice is a fish shaped island,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about maybe 30 minutes from Marco Polo Airport. So as soon as we arrived at the airport, our friend, our host, brought us there,
Wow.
and um, we took a bridge to get there, and then we parked uh, in a covered parking area
Right.
to walk the streets of Venice. So
Nice.
this is just part of it. It's a big city,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're walking through it. Um, you should see it during the day and during the night,
Mm-hmm.
because you would see different, vistas.
Right.
So
So,
now this one on the screen is Pompeii. So this is one of the
oh,
ruins.
I
This is
see.
one of the ruins in Pompeii. This is one of the villas. And as you can see, they have some erotic paintings in this villa,
Right.
and they're still intact.
So this is the Pompeii, like when they got like destroyed by a volcano eruption, right?
Yeah, so a long time ago, Mount Vesuvius destroyed the old city of Pompeii.
Mm.
And so they
Wow.
dug it out, and they found all these nice little streets and houses and villas.
What was that?
Now,
That
this one
yeah.
is in an island, which is one of the islands they call Cinque Terre,
Mm-hmm.
which basically means five fishing villages.
Wow.
And this is Monte Rosso.
Mm-hmm.
It's another quaint, colorful little town,
Mm-hmm.
and you can either ride a train from La Spezia to access all the five little fishing villages. But
Oh.
again, we drove, so we just went down to Monte Rosso,
So it's like
and
they have narrow streets, looks like.
yeah, so you can't drive here. Your
No,
car
yeah.
won't. So this is one of the neighborhood streets.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked down the street up the village.
Oh,
Now, this next picture that you're
oh, this is so
showing,
pretty.
this is early morning
Wow.
in the city called Pisa.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Duomo, or the church, of the
Right.
city church. And right behind it is the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah, I could see that. Exactly. Wow. It's leaning to the right from this view.
So this is coming from the main entrance. And as you can see, it's leaning to the right as you walk in.
The
So
famous
this is a
leaning tower.
nice, yeah, this is the famous Leaning Tower. And as you walk in early in the morning, you're not going to be surprised by a big crowd. So this is like at probably close to 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Do
Um,
they allow visitors to go close to it or just from a distance?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, if you want to go up the tower, you have to pay
Uh-huh.
to get the view from the top.
You
Yeah,
can
and they
go
will
inside
allow.
and climb the tower?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not gonna
wow.
fall.
No. It's feel like it's gonna fall anytime.
No, it's actually reinforced. Now,
Oh,
this picture here that
this
you're
is
just
nice.
showing now
Wow.
is at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
this
nice.
is where you go if you want to hear mass. They will
Mhm.
have a mass at around 6 o'clock.
Wow.
And
Does the Pope sit there on the chair or?
I think so. On certain occasions, he would hold mass there. But when we went, it was a young priest that held the mass.
Wow.
You can
Mm.
actually see the Pope, as with a group.
Mhm.
If you sign up at the Vatican and reserve, a group meeting with the Pope.
So overall, Wawi, would you recommend to our listeners who are interested going to like a Italy trip to just go to Italy and spend about how much? Like a week there, or would the week suffice, or a weekend?
Well, it depends. If you're just visiting Rome, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a week would be good. But since we have a week and we wanted to see a lot, we drove and we saw about 11 cities that I can count.
All in Italy.
Yeah, yeah, in
Wow.
that 7 days we were there. But we spent most of our time between Rome and I'm trying to think. I know we spent 3 days in Rome because there's a lot to see in Rome.
The Colosseum and stuff.
We didn't get to see the Colosseum, but
Mm-hmm.
we went to the Vatican Museum.
Mm-hmm.
We went to see the Spanish Steps, uh, the fountain Trevi, the Trevi fountain, and we went to some restaurants there, Alfredo. But okay, so if you're going to the famous first where the first Alfredo sauce was made.
Versus Alfredo sauce. Oh, is that the white sauce instead of the red's tomato sauce?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So you have to be in a small group, maybe two or three, so you can
It's a
be
small
assured.
restaurant. Yeah.
It's a big restaurant, but
Oh,
they
okay.
have a lot of people, and you have to reserve ahead of time. So
Nice.
if to get a seat, just bring a date and maybe another friend,
Mhm.
but to make sure you get a seat.
Wow. Well, it looks like you enjoyed your trip, Wawi. Good thing you're back.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, if you haven't been to Europe, this is the time
Hmm.
because especially in September, if you're going to Italy, it'll be cooler. The
Wow.
only part that we didn't see was the southern part of Italy, like Santorini, Sicily,
Hmm.
because we didn't have enough time. But
Wow.
that's another place to go. Probably
It's
good to go
Sicily.
in September.
All right. Wow, that's cool. Well, for me, I only have one picture to share at this moment. This is me with my laptop and a drink in Cancun, Mexico. I was there this past weekend. You know, it's a weekend getaway. Me and my girlfriend decided to just stay in an all-inclusive hotel, which I would highly recommend for those who are looking forward to, looking to stretch their dollar and get more
And
from
what
it.
hotel would that be, Mark?
Oh, I would recommend the Hilton
Oh
all-inclusive
yes.
hotel. There are a bunch of Hiltons in the area, but this is the only Hilton that's all-inclusive. It's like when it says all-inclusive, it is all-inclusive, like food galore everywhere.
Wow.
And like they have 5 restaurants, 3 of which are like require reservation. But since you already paid for the all-inclusive, all you have to do is walk up to the concierge and tell them like, I want to have a reservation at this restaurant at this date, and stuff like that. And
Wow.
a little bit of insider, you don't really have to like walk at the exact time that you're reserved. Like for example, we had a reservation at 10, so that's pretty late. Restaurants close around 11 or 12. You can actually walk to the restaurant anytime once they start opening, like 6 p.m., and tell them that you have a reservation, but they're gonna give you a free table. I mean, an the table that's open at that time, so to get you seated. The hospitality in this hotel is like 10 out of 10. All you have to
Wow.
do is bring yourself, and bring some Mexican peso so that you could tip the waiters. I know it's already all inclusive and you may already have paid for the tips, but for me, it's still, it's hard not to give a tip, especially if you're receiving like top notch quality service. Like the
Mm.
waiters, the servers, everybody in the hotel was so nice. And yeah.
So that's the difference in Europe. So
Mhm.
well, not in Europe, but in my experience in Italy, they don't take tips, but
Well, they do not.
yeah, it's not customary. But we did give our driver, our when during our return trip, we rented a van, and
Mm.
we gave our driver a tip, just because she was so nice.
Mhm.
Uh, she came like about 5 minutes before our scheduled time,
Yeah.
and she even picked up our luggages, and
Mhm.
you know and and she was apologizing that that she could not speak English.
Uh-huh.
So it was unexpected. Normally like here in the States, they will say, you have to speak English because you're in America, but in
Right.
Italy, they don't mind. But
Oh.
they would this lady apologized for not knowing enough English,
Uh-huh.
but she demonstrated a good demeanor, and
Right.
she got us in the airport on time, and she even took in our luggage in the van and out the van,
Mhm.
like very strong lady.
Yeah. Well, for me, my experience, like in terms of like being, in terms of being hospitable, right there when we checked in, we haven't actually checked in yet, and the servers from the bar in the lobby of the hotel, just went close, came up to us and said, offering us a drink. Like, would you like to have a drink? And she already has a cranberry with a cinnamon stick and a slice of apple. that alone, like, wow, it started a good, you know, it provided a good start right away. And since we're just staying for a short stay, we kind of planned like, you know, immediately, and they have all the recommendations. We actually were able to even go to a side trip to Isla Mujeres. It's an island over
Mhm.
there that has like crystal blue clear water, so you can see the fish swimming when you go to the beach itself. So it's definitely quite an experience. I get to also touch and hold a shark while we were there.
What? It
Yes.
didn't bite you?
No, there was this guy who was like taking care of it, and it's like situated in a enclosed area. It didn't have any
Mhm.
teeth. When he asked
Oh.
me to take a look at it, and it spit water on me when I was trying to find teeth, its teeth. It spit water on me as a defense, I guess. But yeah,
What kind of shark is that, Mark?
it was a nurse shark. Um,
Oh,
and
okay.
initially, I was thinking when I was about to touch it, I was expecting it will be a silky, smooth texture, but nope, it's not. It was like sandpaper rough. So
Mm,
I bet if it like grazes on my skin as it swims in the wild, like in the ocean, it'll cut my skin pretty easily. Yeah, but
mm,
it was quite an experience overall. I would highly recommend Hilton. It was just completed last November. It was like
mhm.
everything is new. The pool was so nice, infinity pool. They have kiddie pool separated. The food, oh my gosh, it's like 10 out of 10. They have Mexican, they have Italian, they have steakhouse, and all the while during the day, they have food carts, they have grills, and anything you can ask for. It's there if you want just, just stay in one place and just chill. So highly recommended.
Well, as far as going to Italy, in my
Hmm.
experience, we were hosted by my college classmate and her husband.
Hmm.
So we stayed in the province of Aviano. Highly recommend for you all if you're visiting Venice to go up and see Aviano as well.
Aviano.
So hello to my friends Ivory and Jeff Fox. I'll go ahead and make them a member of our group.
Nice. Please do so if they're interested
and
in stock investing. Yeah.
and then maybe I can convince our other hosts, but they probably won't be interested in stock investing. I would
Uh-huh.
like to say hello to the sisters of the Oblates of Mary Immaculate
Hmm.
in Rome that hosted us for those 2 nights and
Wow.
wish us well, welcomed us at night with their bountiful supper.
Oh,
Every morning gave us breakfast and even stayed up at night to open the gate
wow.
after
That's really nice.
uh, our roundabout in Rome.
Hmm.
And lots of thanks to the sisters
That's so
there
nice of
where
them.
we stayed at Rome.
Wow.
I,
Well,
I will uh
mhm.
I will send some pictures in the group to share
Yeah, please do
share.
so, so
Yeah.
we can see them. Yeah, Rome will be part of my checklist for sure. Maybe in a few years from now. So now we're gonna dive into our weekly sentiments and flow review.
Mhm.
Actually, it's a little bit shortened just because we have made time for sharing our vacation experience this summer. So we're gonna first take a look at, of course, our favorite American Association of Individual Investors. So we're gonna right now. Today is July 26th, Tuesday. So we're in the midst of actually earnings season. So Walmart just reported it was quite disappointing yesterday. We're gonna take a closer look at their numbers, and Microsoft
Mhm.
and Google just came out. So we'll see if we can dissect a little bit of their numbers. But for the meantime, let's take a look at what we have missed for the past month. So for the sentiments, um, as of July 20, this is as of last week, people have become bullish
Mhm.
since the end of June. So end of June we are at 22.8. As of last week we are at 29.6. So
Mhm.
investors have slowly become more bullish, meaning that investors are thinking that the stock market will be up in the coming weeks, at least in the
Mhm.
coming, yeah, at least in the coming weeks. So this is something of a new indicator provided by the American Association of Individual Investors. This is the bull bear spread. So if we're going to take a look, currently 1 month ago, we were at greedy. Wow. Believe it or not, while we were at greedy last month, right now
Mm-hmm.
we are at neutral, looks like. So
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of new to this graph, so I'm not going to be relying on that for sure at this point in time. So next would be our fear and greed index as of today. We're still at fear, whereas a month ago we were at fear level as well. So, but in terms of the gauge, last month we were at 27, but right now we are at 35. So we're a little bit less fearful of the market. Market momentum is extreme fear still. So this is the S&P 500 movement or the index itself versus its 4 months average. So we're
Mm-hmm.
still at extreme fear for the market momentum.
Yeah, we're still
Mm,
like 1,000 points below the peak of 4,800.
right. We're close to it. Yeah, that's true. And for stock price breadth, we're still extreme fear. So investors actively buying and selling stocks are still at low. So people are not as much buying or selling, maybe because they're still on vacation, or they're just fearful what might happen in the next
Mm-hmm.
coming weeks. Well, tomorrow, right, Wawi, Federal Reserve are going to come out with an expected 75 basis point hike,
Mm-hmm.
another 75
Yes.
basis point hike. So
Yes.
give or take, market could react wildly or erratically again because of that. The last
Mm-hmm.
time they did that, the market I think went down the following day. They went up on the announcement, but took back all those gains the following day. So we
Mm-hmm.
might see that a reaction again, but we'll find out soon. The options market, it looks like we're still at fear. There are a lot of people buying put options, betting that the market would go down. Put
Mm-hmm.
options are like protection. It's a little tricky to play the options market. Me, myself, and Wawi, we don't really play on these tools as a hedge on your investment.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so for the 1 week performance, we've been gone for a month, so we're gonna take a look at the past week. The most underperforming sector was communication services. This is led by Snapchat's nearly 40% drop, right, Wawi? A crazy drop last
Yeah.
Friday.
Mm-hmm. Like 38%.
Yeah, just lost a lot of value. Right now, it's I think trading less than $10 a share. Whereas the best performing sector was utilities for the past week. So you can tell people are getting a little bit more defensive because
Mm-hmm.
of the tech sector flunking their earnings report, at least for Snapchat, dragging the entire sector down to drain. For the past month, it was energy. Interestingly, energy
Mm-hmm.
has been underperforming in June, but this month in July looks like they're back at it again. And then the
Yes,
worst
they are.
performing sector would be communication service, which is dragged by the Snapchats and other related stocks. For the volatility of the S&P 500, looks like we're actually down negative 8% for the past month. So it's not as much as rocky in July compared to June. While the
Mm-hmm.
volatility for the Nasdaq, which is the tech heavy index, is also down nearly 8%. So we're going to take a look at the performance of the major indexes for the past month. Dow Jones is the top performing index, carrying the top 30 industrial stocks, followed by the S&P 500, up nearly 0.66%. And Nasdaq, believe it or not, is up 0.49%. So it looks like while were at our vacations, while the stock market has been trending nicely, like at least flat within the past
Mm-hmm.
4 weeks.
Yeah, I remembered when I came home on the 15th. That's when the Nasdaq index went up as soon as Tesla reported their earnings. So it kind of went up for a few days there, and now it's trending down again.
Oh, it is. But Yeah, looking at some stocks here that we chose to include in this graph for the past month. Believe it or not, Netflix is outperforming the rest. It's up nearly 15% within the past 4 weeks. Hmm, can
Yeah, I've been
believe.
thinking about getting some Netflix shares
Mm-hmm,
and even Meta shares because although I don't think that we've hit bottom yet,
mm-hmm,
it's it's really a buyer season right now because it's there's a lot of oversold uh, companies right now, and I'm thinking Meta is oversold,
mm-hmm,
and even Alibaba. I recently acquired a few shares for
mm-hmm.
after 2 years, bought Alibaba again, and I'm staking uh, for an uptrend here, maybe
Right.
next year. China and Japan, probably.
Because I think Alibaba is also trying to get listed in Hong Kong to get a dual
Yes,
listing. Hmm. So
yeah, that was
that would be
the news
interesting.
yesterday.
Mhm. So Netflix, outstanding for the past 4 weeks, incredible, 15%. Berkshire Hathaway, which is you know the baby of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, is up
Hmm.
2.5%, which is this one is a pure value play. Those who would
Hmm.
strictly follow certain rules of investing that want to stick with the steady growing companies would buy Berkshire.
Hmm.
ExxonMobil is up 1.53%, one of the largest, if not the largest, oil company here in the US. And then,
Hmm.
then Amazon is nearly flat, 0.34%. We're going to hear from Amazon tomorrow or sometime this week in terms of its earnings. So that's one thing that we need to keep an eye on. Amazon and Walmart. So Walmart already came out with their report yesterday, which was like disappointing. So that sunk its stock down today for sure. ARK Investments is down 2%. So not much love for the high growth, profitless stocks at the moment. And believe
Hmm.
it or not, Google, oh my gosh, nearly 11% down within the 4 weeks, past 4 weeks. So investors are fearing that Google might not deliver in its earnings that they just came out with just now, closing at the close, market close. So this is another chart from Financial Times. So global slowdown set to intensify according to IMF. So if we're gonna take a look at this chart, it's a little bit negative, to say the least, or in a general point of view. So the whole world, including the advanced economies like US, Japan, and Germany, and emerging
Hmm.
economies, are expected to grow less in the coming years. So UK even going down to negative by 2023.
I would keep an eye on South Korea
Mhm.
and look at those companies in South Korea. And I'm thinking about like Hyundai, Kia, Samsung, um, those large companies.
Right. The big companies that, kind of dictate or at least demonstrate how consumer sentiment really is, right?
Hmm.
If they're
Yeah.
growing or expanding or not. So this guy,
Hmm.
Rubini, he's an expert of macro. Rubini Macro Associates says it's called calls for mild recession calls are totally delusional. So he's thinking that we would have a worse type of recession in the coming months. So
Hmm.
it's already being forecasted that we might be already experiencing as one. The NBER hasn't came out with any conviction yet or report that we're actually in a recession, but one of the things that we closely look on was is the treasury 10-year minus 2-year yield curve, which we
Hmm.
are still in the negative territory since mid-July. So this kind of is accurate, indicating recession fears. I mean, potential recession in the coming months, if not a year.
There's a slight weakening in the dollar,
Hmm.
but that's well, that's something that needs to be watched. So if you see more weakening in the dollar, then we're probably headed in a good direction.
Right.
But right now, the dollar is still strong, slightly weaker than it was about a week ago.
Mhm. So we're down to our at least remaining few minutes in our podcast recording today, and I hope like our listeners have appreciated us sharing some of our vacation experience, and right, while we were gonna still continue doing our episodes on a weekly basis as much as we can
Yeah.
to share our insights. So I think we're just gonna share the fund flows at least for the past week. As of July 22nd, Reuters came out with an article saying global equity funds see biggest weekly outflow in 5 weeks. So there's still much selling ongoing in globally in the stock market. 5 weeks into July 20, investors offloaded a net nearly 14 billion worth of stock of investments in
Hmm.
global stock market. So yeah, as is expected, European Central Bank, they're set to raise. Well, they have raised their interest rates by 50 basis points, above its own guidance of 25 basis points. While the Federal Reserve here in the US is expected to raise another 75 basis points tomorrow. So US and European stocks saw 8.5 and 5.6 billion withdrawals. Let's try to figure out like which sector clearly experienced a lot of sell off. Even money market funds worth 1.34 billion was withdrawn from money market.
Hmm.
So even gold saw withdrawals, 63% bigger outflow than the previous week.
Hmm.
So looks like people are quite panicking at this point in time, right, Wawi?
Well, and there's a lot of fear sentiment, so I
Mhm.
think that's what's driving a lot of this.
It's quite a mixed bag, looks like, Wawi, because sentiments are slowly improving, but the action behind it, they're kind of still retrenching
Hmm.
from the current
So,
movements, fund flow.
so I,
Mhm.
so I'm thinking maybe a lot of these funds are still on standby because unless we get any news from the private equity sector, if that's going into the private equity sector.
Right. Well, for those who are interested in knowing more about the Walmart earnings report, we're just going to briefly dive into this. So, Walmart came out with the earnings yesterday. They didn't deliver, and also they also
Mhm.
slashed their profit outlook, sending their
Mhm.
stock down quite a ways. For today, I think they're down like 7%, right, Wowie?
Yes.
Yeah, 7.6% to 121 bucks a share. So not looking good because previously they were only reducing their earnings by flat zero, no earnings for the next quarter, but now they have to revise it a little more than that. They have to
Mhm.
revise it. I think previous guidance EPS, yeah, flat. So now they're expected to decline 10 to 12% from flat.
Mhm.
So that's quite a huge hit. Their inventories has suffered a lot. Like they have collected a lot of stuff during this lockdowns and logistical troubles.
Mhm.
So Google, meanwhile, reported, and they're up right now after their earnings report. So basically, it says they're happy with their cloud intake. Okay, this is a CFO of Google, Ruth Porat, saying going forward, the very strong revenue performance last year continues to create tough comparisons. That's tough comps that will weigh on year growth rates of advertising revenue for the remainder of the year. But you know what? But I saw a headline earlier while as they came out with their report, they actually missed expectations, like right here. So Alphabet, the
Mhm.
parent company of Google, earnings estimates per share miss, and revenue as well miss. So for some reason, the market still love Google and its shares are up 2%. So
Well, I guess after it's split, it's fairly priced.
Right.
So it's been downtrending. So people are probably buying it.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, well, it's still early to say, right, Wawi? I think it's just an early reaction, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow when the
mhm,
market really like opens for sure.
mhm,
Because Google is cash rich, but regardless, if they're missing here and there, I mean,
mhm.
it's hard to generate. They're basically um, demonstrating how companies are eager to market themselves online because basically it's only Facebook and Google. Well, TikTok is a newcomer that are like catering to the advertising business. So if businesses feel like, well, we don't really need to market right now, so that's the first thing I believe that you know the lowest hanging fruit to cut expenses and try to deliver profits for investors. So if Google starts flunking, I mean, what more could it be in store for us in the coming weeks as you know we find out earnings report after earnings report from these big companies.
So we'll have to compare their advertising revenue,
Hmm.
all of these big companies,
Right,
Amazon, Netflix,
right.
Google.
Hmm.
It's like a advertising competition right now.
Hmm. And TikTok is eating the lunch, eating their lunch.
Well, it definitely ate Snapchat's
Oh yeah,
lunch a whole lot.
yeah.
It
Snapchat
ate
got
its lunch,
crushed.
dinner, and breakfast.
Right. And here's one more thing that I would like to highlight. Shopify is down 14% today just because it announced its intentions to lay off at least 10% of its workforce, indicating, um, you know, that there's definitely weekend demand for its
Mhm.
products or whatever their sellers are trying to sell online. So hopefully this doesn't carry on through with Amazon's report, but I have a quite a negative feeling on this as a precursor to Amazon's earnings, but hopefully I'm wrong because Amazon
Well, the
is a big holding in my portfolio.
well, depending on how all these layoffs are gonna um, occur, we're seeing like maybe an effect of the Federal Reserve
Right.
rate hikes.
Well, Wawi, I guess that's gonna do our episode for today as our time runs
Okay,
out.
Mark.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Wawi, for joining us this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Listeners, that does it. And if you have any questions, send it over at markywawishow@gmail.com. Until next episode, thank you guys and have a good night.
Like and subscribe.